What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Quadcast, the show where we get real, get raw, and get loud about mental health, substance use, and the fight to take our lives back.
Each episode, we're cutting through the stigma, dropping knowledge, sharing stories, and bringing the heat with guests who have lived it and aren't afraid to talk about it.
So turn it up, lock in, and let's break barriers, spark change, and build a community that refuses to stay silent. You're tuned into the Quadcast, and let's get into it.
You can find us on Patreon, Facebook, Instagram, or email us. The Quadcast is always looking for new guests, whether you're individuals that have experienced it, you're in law enforcement, treatment programs, nurses, doctors, or anyone that just has something to say. Come share your story with us on mental health or substance abuse.
Warning, there's cussing in this video. If you don't like swear words, well, you're
watching the wrong damn show.
And so they recruit from there, and they train with a sales manual, like sales. Think about that word for a minute. What we're trying to do to help people, and it's a sales manual. And everybody
Back to money.
Yeah, and everybody has been trained in that model, with the exception of me.
Right.
I remember one time one of them said, "Hey, I got a copy of that book," and I was like, "Wipe my ass with it." Like, I care about.
You ain't me a book. I ain't reading.
No. I care about people. I don't care about, like, how are we going to trend up and, like, what's trending, what's popping, what's this, what's that. I'm going to go and help people. And it's always worked out for me to the best.
Right.
And, like, no. Do I look at numbers? No. I don't.
Numbers don't mean anything in reality, though. It's the common sense structure of it, because numbers in a book, they tell me nothing.
Nothing.
Because you and I are different. So why does it make everybody else a statistical number?
Chasing.
It doesn't.
Well, then that goes back to, like, are you chasing numbers, or are you trying to save lives? Because, like I said, the reason I'm probably one of the few that does what I do in my position, that I still go down. I went down all weekend and hung out with the patients.
Mm-hmm.
We went hiking, had a kickball game. I'm still sore. Like, I had
another ice bath.
I had a bonfire. I had one this morning. I gotta have another one. Like, we had, like, a bonfire. We had all the things, because it's great that you get somebody there, but you got to keep them there. You got to keep them engaged. You got to learn them, and they have to know. Like, I have so many of them come up to me like, "Hey, let me get your card. You're going to help me get into, like, a good sober living." And, like, that's the key, like, to get them not only to stay with us for the 28, but the ones especially who don't have, like, a family to get back to or a home. Let's help you fix it. Like, let's send you to a program where you can learn and start over. So, like, if you're from Charleston, hey, I know a great facility in Elkins, brand new, man, and I'm sending one there up there December 1st. It's like, let them get that fresh start. But you can't do that if you don't know your people on a human level.
Right.
If I know you by your insurance card number, I can't do a damn thing for you.
Right.
And it's the way I've always looked at it. And I will never change on it. And, like, people sometimes will even say, when they start talking about that part of work, they'll go, "Dave, I'm sorry." Out of respect, because they know, like, my eyes are going to glaze over.
Right.
And I don't care. I would much rather, I was telling you about the dinner we're sponsoring down here in Greenbrier County.
Yep.
That started, I was with a company who they would go around at Christmas and they would give the air quote best accounts, very nice, extravagant gifts. Like, kind of think of like a drug rep.
Okay.
And my idea was, like, why don't we go out here and take that money and have dinners and feed people who need it in their community, rather than giving people who have stuff Omaha steaks.
Sure.
Why don't we feed, like, last year we fed 118 people.
And where did you guys do this?
Down at in Lewisburg at the health department.
Okay.
As me and Joe Chestnut worked on it together. We're working on it again this year. And, like, this year we're bringing in massage therapy for free, manicure, pedicures, hair wash. We're going to have some clothes to give out. Like, giving people the opportunity to feel loved. And out of that, if somebody sees my card and they want to talk to me about getting better, cool. If they don't, still, my dad always told me, son, you can never go wrong by feeding somebody. You know?
No, because that's a lasting impact in somebody's brain.
Yeah.
Like just knowing somebody cares or they have that support role to turn to if they need it or decide to. Like I think that's the biggest part in it is wanting to feel wanted, wanting to feel needed, wanting to feel a sense of purpose,
Yes.
and overall just fucking cared for.
Well, and like when you're strung out in addiction and you get to that point where you don't even like you. And
Right.
so your mind says nobody likes you.
Nobody gives a shit.
And,
Nobody knows. Nobody wants to. Blah blah blah.
and I'm like, you know what? And I can't blame him because I'm a horrible person. You know what I mean? Like, and so when somebody comes up to
Somebody
you,
on Facebook will probably tell you that.
yeah, oh yeah, I was just wait for it. And but they, having somebody to be like, man, I love you. If you ever need anything, we're going to do this nice stuff for you right here. This doesn't cost you nothing. Please come in. Please do all the things. And, for that one night, roll out the carpet for them. And like you said, the lasting impact, you'll never know. You never, every interaction you have, and I'm trying to teach my 14-year-old this, every interaction you have, and I told her, I said, watch this. We're at the State Fair of West Virginia because
You went to that shindig?
I went because I wanted a deep fried turkey leg, and my daughter gets whatever she wants.
A deep fryer and a turkey leg would have probably been cheaper than going to the fair.
I saw that they have a turkey like outside air fryer now instead of like doing the grease where you blow your house up.
Shit,
there's an air fryer for it.
I might be able to get onto that.
Yeah, but so like I said, watch this. I said we're gonna walk around. And anytime I see somebody wearing like a unique shirt, I'm going to say, hey, nice shirt. And I said, I want you to watch to see how many people look back and smile. And she thought I was crazy. And, I was looking for the funny shirts. And at the fair, it's a dime a dozen, And I'm like, nice shirt, man.
You didn't stay there long enough.
Nice shirt, love it. And she was like, oh my God. Like so many people would kind of like shake their head or whatever. Small, little nothing. Maybe made somebody's day. Like
that was huge in somebody's day.
Yeah, like
and just saying hi, how are you doing? Anything like that. I mean, it goes a long way that you don't even realize in perspective.
Well, and like we were talking, that's what we're missing in our society is that genuine people connecting because automatically people judge right off the jump.
Absolutely.
And they put you in this category of like who they think you are. Mm-hmm. And then they decide if you're on their team or not. And I'm like, I'm on my team.
I don't care to be on anybody's team.
Yeah, I'm on my team. And my team is my family. And, this whole world has forgotten how to have a conversation and exchange of ideas. Like me and you sat here for the first hour, first time we'd ever met. And just back and forth and having, back and forth.
And honestly, it was a truly deep, respectful,
absolutely
communicative conversation. And all we did was go back and forth with, different aspects of our ways of thinking and different things that we've been through.
And, do we agree on everything? No. Do we respect each other? Absolutely. And that's what it's all about.
There's no sense in any disrespect because you and I can have our difference of opinions, but we can still get along for the greater good of what it actually stands for.
That's one of the biggest compliments I ever got was this weekend. We went down, like I said, we had the camp bonfire, we had like the cookout, and one of the patients came up to me and she was like, I got to tell you something about your daughter. And I thought, oh my God, like, she's 14. Oh, what could it be? Here we go. And she was like, when she got out of the car, I said, wow, your daughter's beautiful. She's probably going to be judgmental. And she said, not only is she not judgmental, man, she was engaging. She was over there like trying to learn how to play spades. I said, I learned how to play spades in prison. I mean, I was working there, but still I can say I learned to play spades in prison.
Call it what it is.
Yeah. And, and they were like, so you're doing something right, Dad. And I was like, man, biggest compliment for a kid to be 14 and to be surrounded by people who are trying to get out of addiction, and my kid, for real, just hanging out.
Especially after the conversation we had earlier about
Yeah.
her and what you've been dealing with. Like,
Oh, yeah.
that puts it into perspective as, yeah, it's not easy, but something is going right.
Right. And even like my little guy, we went on a hike. We took the patients on a hike a few months back, back in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a hike up to a place called Death Rock in Williamson. When it says Death Rock, it means straight up, straight up, straight up. And we had a guy in treatment who, just face tattoos all over him, prison multiple times. I saw right through it. He's a good man. Like when I started talking to him, I learned about his childhood, and I said, I know why he's got the face tattoos. He's trying to scare people away. My 9-year-old, that was his best buddy. My 9-year-old didn't see the tattoos. He didn't see, he was like, man, this guy, he knows how to rap. He does,
Right.
And like, I was like, one day during the trip, I'm like, where's Asher? And I'm like, he's up there and I'm like, okay. And like, I had a little bit of a panic for a minute. It's because, and like,
Yeah.
Asher's up there like kicking it with him, And I'm
But
like,
kids are a good judge of character, and so are dogs.
dude,
Like,
the
if the kids are hanging out with them and the dogs are hanging out with them, they're probably not a bad person.
And what was cool is like him hanging out with him, it opened him up to me. So like the patient opened up more to me.
Right.
And we understood, okay, here's how we need to address him. Because when he would have an outburst, it was like we weren't taking it from the right angle. Mm-hmm. But since we had that time with him, I knew exactly what to do.
Right.
And that was that was the day that I came out with my Jerry Maguire moment,
mm-hmm.
where I said, the most important part of your day as a behavioral technician is smoke breaks. And they look at me and I was like, listen, when your guys are out there vaping or smoking, that's where the real conversation happens.
Yeah.
It's where you learn about people. And I was like, that's my Jerry Maguire. I'm like, make sure you use these smoke breaks. I mean, I got on the pedestal. I'm like, use these to the greater good.
Smoke all you want.
I mean,
smoke as much as you want.
I'm like, I don't want to see you on your cell phone. You be out there engaging and talking to them. But it's true because you're on that same level, and it's like people blow off steam.
Yeah.
And you learn, like, wow, this guy acts like this because of this. And but it goes back to the human perspective of it versus the nasty, dirty, here comes the money, here's your check, check these boxes, here, do this, do this, do this. If my life was like that, I wouldn't be in this field.
Right.
I can't stand that. Like, I shut down. I just, and it's like, I tell people all the time, yes, I understand it is a business and it has to be sustained. But if you do the right thing, it'll always be sustained.
But it doesn't have to be, I don't know what I'm looking for, but
sleazy.
It doesn't have to be boxes to check. It doesn't have to be paperwork motivated to do all of this. Well, it's a personal side of things that paperwork ain't ever going to touch.
No,
and you have to be human.
That's the key.
AI is never going to figure this out for us. A statistical graph chart is not ever going to figure this out for us.
The key thing you said is human, and like that's always my drive number one. What's best for this individual, and that's why a lot of people in this field, they'll get into the, oh well, if you send me X amount of these policies, I can trade you X amount of these policies.
Right.
They know not to even call me. They know. Like,
you're on the do not call list.
Yeah, don't call me. Like,
how do you get on that list? Because these spammers are wearing me out.
Listen, one of the parts of my job is I have to answer every call because it could be somebody needing help.
Yeah.
Do you know how many times I get told that my Medicare is like needing to be updated?
Probably 3/4 of the phone calls you answer.
Yeah, and like I get on the days that I'm driving and I'm bored. Oh man, I have a blast. But but like we were at a national meeting. This was a few years back, and like the third day was all about that whole like the trading of stuff. And I remember the national director being like, "Yeah, you don't have to come tomorrow." And I was like, "Wasn't planning on it." because they, and I want my reputation to be that. I want it to be that, you know, I've been through it. I've been there, and I don't want to ever treat you like you're just a number.
Right.
And
because you're not.
No, man.
It's more than a number. And I think that's what we've gotten so far away from.
Well, and we've got jaded. And like me and you were talking, like, and I tell people this, like a lot of people, it's really easy to throw off on law enforcement when it comes to the opioids. But understand, law enforcement was just as overwhelmed with the opioids that were poured in here as the people who got addicted.
Absolutely.
Because y'all had no idea. Like, people taking them didn't know what was going on. All you guys know, you've got people wilding out.
Yeah.
And it's like, what do you do? Well, the only option you had was to lock them up. You know?
In the 2 years that I worked were the parts where we had Detroit down here.
Oh, yeah.
Detroit was flooding everything. And I told this story the other day on a recording. You know, I confiscated 50 Opana slippers off of a girl one time, flipped her into an informant, and when we served a search warrant on the house, there were 3 Detroit guys laid up in there that nobody ever knew were in town.
Wow.
Like,
and this was in what town?
Alderson.
So
Alderson.
three thugs from Detroit.
Yes. That nobody ever knew that they were even there. We were after the guy that resided generally in White Sulphur that had moved to there. We were after him and had no idea that they were in there.
Wow.
And they would literally switch them out. They weren't the same guys every week, every month, whatever. But they were constantly in that house, but never would leave that house. But were pushing so much dope in Alderson that it was ungodly.
Mm.
And it's not like it was weed.
Right.
It was Opanas, it was heroin, meth, fentanyl. Like, you can't tell me that that's not an issue.
We are overwhelmed, and it's like, you said Detroit, you got Cleveland, Baltimore, a lot of stuff right now coming up from Georgia.
Yes.
And a lot of stuff coming in this area is coming from Georgia.
Yes.
And
but it switches though. Once law enforcement starts catching on to one route, we just switch it up and start bringing it up from the south, or bringing it up from the west, bringing it from the east coast, further from the east coast. Like, it's never going to be solved because there's so much. We can blow up as many narco boats as we want.
I'm a fan.
I'm all for it. Don't get me wrong. I'll push the button if you give it.
Yes, sir.
It's one of those things that until we start solving the mental health and substance issue in this country, that it's never going to trickle down the line to the dealers and the suppliers.
Well, you're looking at a supply and demand, and
absolutely,
we've got to figure out why there's such a big demand.
Until we get rid of the demand, we can't even begin to make a fucking dent in the supply.
And you nailed it. Mental health. I tell people this. I say this is a Dave statistic. It's not in the books. I will tell you from personal experience, 99.9% of people who become addicted have a underlying mental health issue. I guarantee it. I was dealing with like severe depression, anxiety, and once they figured out how to help me, once I got on a medication, I got through some therapy. When you take away that feeling of like, I don't know what the fuck's going on in my brain,
right,
and you calm it down, you don't want to change the way you feel. So once I got to feeling like I feel normal, I think I can go out and be in public and not have to have, a drink or have to do some pills. Then you're like, wow, so I can function again without being dope sick or without being hungover. That's what we have to do. We got to figure out so much of the mental health stuff. I mean, this is me talking as a dad. A lot of our kids, and this blows my mind. We have allowed a lot of our kids to be raised by video games and YouTube nonstop. So it's nonstop stimulant, right? Mm-hmm. We'll take that away from them and say, go to school. When they go to school, they won't sit still. So we say, well, let's put them on medication. Well, okay, so now you're going to put them on amphetamine so they can super focus, and they super focus on all this crap on YouTube and on the video games. And then we say, oh no, I think they must be on the spectrum. And it's like, everybody calm down.
We're jumping to conclusions before we actually investigate what the underlying cause is. And the underlying cause, constant stimulation, going to no stimulation, and having to be in a structured environment.
Well,
and it's, where you started out, I'll just backtrack just a little bit why it's on my mind. You started with the whole mental health issue. You started with alcohol.
Right.
And that led into it. So we have to be able to look back and what was the cause of the start of all of this? Your cause was alcohol and escaping
sorrow.
Your sorrow, and that helped. But when that slowly stopped or lessened your effects of the alcohol, you seeked out.
Got to get more.
Yeah. And so, no, it wasn't a choice that you ended up in that, but it was a side effect of what you treated it with.
Yeah.
And it's not that you chose to go straight to drugs, but what you were using wasn't helping anymore.
And I tell people that all the time. That's a really good point. Like, I did things after I would drink alcohol that normally would have never thought of. I'd have never thought of going and buying pills off of somebody I didn't know, and all this hustling. I never would have thought, like I said, stealing from my old man. Well, that wasn't who I was. And it was like, and I tell people all the time, like, I didn't wake up and decide I wanted to be a piece of shit.
Right.
Like, it happened.
Nobody wakes up and says, hey, I'm going to walk out the door today and I'm going to be the biggest piece of shit that anybody can find in this world.
And it's like, the circumstances stack up, and the next thing you know, you don't even realize it before it's got you, and it's got you. And it's like, that you bring it up about, the choice, and I tell people all the time, sure, I made the choice to drink. Absolutely made the choice to drink.
And there was a choice there's a choice in there.
Yeah. And I made that choice.
It's not solely a choice.
No. And the misconception for people outside looking in, they think, oh man, those guys are just partying. I tell people it started as a party, became a full-time job, and it was the worst job on the planet, and I wanted to die at the end because that's the way it happened.
Because it killed you.
Yeah.
That party killed you.
So when you look at people and you're like, oh, those guys with the backpacks are partying, man, they're trying to survive.
Yeah.
They're trying to survive. And I was talking with Sean yesterday, Campbell, down at Anstead PD.
You're going to stay in Anstead.
Yeah, I know. But
we guys down there.
We were talking, and we're talking about, he said, man, it blows my mind that, he's got a house down there right now that guys in their mid-50s are all living in together, and they're all still doing, like, all the drugs together and doing all the stuff. And they're in their 50s. And these guys, like we were talking about them by name, it's like you talk about people who had so much potential.
Right.
And like one guy in particular, I had a conversation with the Day Report one day. I said, do you understand? You had the God-given ability to communicate. You had a God-given ability for sport. You had all these things, intelligence, all these things. But now you're in your 50s. You're a grandpa that you've never seen your grandkids. You've thrown all that away. At what point are you going to realize this is not cool anymore? You're addicted to the lifestyle just as much as you are the drugs.
Right.
And that's sad. Like,
But when they're in that lifestyle, it's kind of almost like the kids. It's a constant stimulation. And when they don't have that is when they don't know what to do with it.
It's
because they know what to do when they're in that lifestyle and having that party.
Yeah.
Is because they don't have any responsibilities at that point. They're not thinking about anything else.
Mm-mm.
But when they're outside of that, it's nothing. They have the support's not there. The mental stimulation's not there. Uh, the career path isn't there because as employers, we're not challenging our employees enough. We're not supporting them enough because fuck, going to work, it pisses you off and it ain't work. It's not fun.
Right.
But that party's fun.
The party is real fun. Like for a season, it's fun. And we were talking about that
Until
earlier.
the final season.
Yeah. And we were talking about that earlier. And people would ask me what was one of the biggest, what's one of the biggest things I think leads to a successful recovery. And I'm like, you got to have a job. You got it because a job gives you purpose,
Yes,
accountability, gives you a little bit of pride. I said, like, when I started back to work, now I'll tell people too, the first time I drove, I had my paycheck, right? And it was in my little account. I mean, the first time I drove by Comac, I was shaking. Like, it was like that, am I going to go do it? Am I going to do it? After that, after I drove by, never had an issue with it again.
really.
But it was that first test of, man,
Right.
you've got money. That liquor store's right there.
Right.
Now, you worked for 2 weeks. You deserve something.
And that's a choice.
And that was a choice. 1,000%.
That's a choice.
1,000. So I made that choice. Like, nope, I'm not about that life. But we've got to, and there's so many programs in this state. Like I was telling, my wife is a transition agent with Jobs and Hope, and their only goal is any boundary you have to employment, they're going to fix it. They help you get education. I heard they have a partnership with Catholic Charities, and there was a young lady who was working, doing good things, and they want you to have a career, not a job, a career.
Right.
And her transmission went out in her car, and she called just crying and just upset. And Jobs and Hope called Catholic Charities, and they said, "Tell her to take it to a garage. We'll send a check."
No doubt.
They were like, if she's still working, she's still doing the program, we're not going to let this hinder her. And
yeah, that's awesome.
Oh my gosh, like it gave me chills. And then, they got a program where anybody can go up. You get in the program, they'll send you to Camp Dawson for 8 weeks, and after 8 weeks, you graduate, and people are standing there at a job fair, anywhere from coal mines, the DOH, all these people begging you to come to work.
Really?
Yeah, and it's like there's a new life out there for you.
Right. You just have to be motivated enough to find it.
Get motivated enough to find it, and like it's my job. People like me, it's our job to make sure you know about these things.
Right, and that that's a program that I never knew was out there.
Yeah, it bothers me. But you know what? It's on the same side of that. There are still programs I learn about, and I'm like, really?
And this is probably going to catch some flack, but
I like it.
Disability, state-funded checks,
right?
Federal-funded checks, SSI. It's an enabler to make the wrong decision.
There are,
at this, we just went through it with the SNAP benefits.
Right.
Nothing against SNAP.
No.
If you need it, absolutely. But there's an abuse to it because I think it puts you in the aspect of not having a purpose, not having accountability, because once that check hits your account, whatever you can spend it on, you can spend it on.
What always pops in my mind first is when I worked in juvenile services. I was trying to talk to a kid, man, and this kid, I knew he had his family. I knew about 3 generations of his family. And I was trying to talk to him about breaking the cycle. And he's 14 or 15, and he's like, man, I ain't worried about it. I'm going to get a check. I'm going to get this. And I was like, don't you want to aim higher, though? Like, don't you want? He said, well, why? It's what my daddy did and grandpappy. And like, talking about he's going to live in the same holler, on the same property, on the same thing. And like that generational thought process of like, we're going to let this happen. Now, people absolutely need SNAP. People who absolutely need it, absolutely. Like, that's what I said. You can never go wrong feeding somebody. But at the same time, the fraud we all know, we've seen the fraud.
The fraud the fraud's never going to go away.
No.
But making it so easy to receive those benefits, there has to be a break in the cycle, because all it's doing, if you statistically look at it, there are a lot of people that are on these government funded programs that are using drugs.
Yes.
And buying alcohol. Now, whether they can do it with that funding, I'm not sure.
A lot of times they sell it.
They can sell it, or they can sell off other shit that they buy with that funding.
Yep.
To enable that problem.
And like, to me, it's like maybe a solution to that is not only like trying to educate these kids. I can say it. Hell, I grew up in a holler, so getting these hollers and let people.
I grew up right here in Rimmer County. I've never left. And it's the same, but it's the same.
Yeah.
It's the same cycle over and over again.
And you got to let people understand that there's a whole world out there outside your little clique of 3 or 4 people. You might be important in Richwood on your one street. A guy said he had street credibility in Richwood. I said there's one street.
There's more than one street in Richwood?
One that I'm aware of.
There's a sawmill, right?
I said, buddy, it's one street and a sawmill. What kind of street credibility you got over there?
The only other road you got is to go up on Cold Knob and across the Greenberg.
Yeah, like, what are you doing, man? But like, to get them out of that thought. And like, how do you do that? You got to have hope. You got to find that there is a job out there, a career for you. But that takes ambition, and it takes people driving. I think it takes,
and it takes making the right choice.
I think it takes, our education system needs to be pushing people. Like, man, I remember back in the day, they would push you toward shop, they push you toward welding, they push you toward it.
Where do we push everybody now?
STEM. And
college,
and you got to get a degree.
College is the only way. A degree is the only way.
Yeah.
But what do you find at college?
You get indoctrined, and you find drugs and alcohol, and it's
exactly. So you leave one cycle of probably growing up with parents that do that,
mm-hmm.
and you're a kid, you're out there drinking, partying, having fun with your friends. But yet you go straight to college, and it's no different, because it's only worse on a more extreme level.
Now you've got a bunch more people with a bunch more drugs and a bunch more stuff for you to try.
Exactly. And no responsibilities, because you're at college. Yeah. You probably got a scholarship, because those are handed out left and right.
Man, it wasn't like that when we were coming up either, by the way.
It was, even when I was coming up, it wasn't like that. We didn't get participation trophies.
No.
And you actually had to work for it. Like, I can remember my senior year of high school, I was in this college for visits or tryouts, and I didn't go to college to play soccer. The only opportunity I had was to walk on somewhere and not play the first 3 years. But now, hell, you catch a ball in a game, you're going to college, son. Yeah. Like, you're going straight to college. You're going right to the.
And even if
you're major league.
And even if you don't, you can just go in debt with student loans to the point of, hundreds of thousands of dollars to study like the theological ideas of unicorns in like Uganda and then the
water crisis in Africa.
And you say, I can't get a good career. Well, or you could
supply and demand.
You could go to Votech and learn how to weld and go out here and make more money than these guys who are the professors at colleges,
But the problem with that is, what do you find in blue-collar jobs?
Drugs.
Alcohol.
And
the same people that you're trying to break the cycle of. What is the break in the cycle? Like, how does it make sense? Like, how do we find the middle ground?
It crosses all spectrums, right? Like you're saying. I've put doctors and lawyers through treatment. I put police officers through treatment. I put criminals. I put them all through treatment. And like I said, they were all broken, and it was always the same story but different, because there was always a trauma, a trigger. There was always something from their past, and there was always some mental health. Like, if somebody calls me, and my wife can tell you, she's heard me actually say it. When somebody calls me and they go, "Hey, Uncle Dave, I messed up," if it's a guy, I'll say, "What's her name?" If it's a woman, I'll say, what's his name? 99% of the time, they're like, how'd you know? I said, because this always happens. It always happens.
I was on a recording the other night, and it'll come out December 1st. Every time something happened, it was there was a female involved. And by the fifth one, I'm like, you couldn't figure out your problem yet?
Yeah.
Like, you couldn't figure it out. Like, I get it. It wasn't the sole reason, but I'll be damned if it probably didn't play a role, because there was a traumatic incident every time with the female. And it was like, okay, and looking from the outside in, I can spot it. Being in that situation, you ain't gonna spot it. I can look back at my own life and be like,
dude, that's so
holy
true.
shit.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, it was a damn female.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Quadcast.
Remember, breaking stigma doesn't stop when the episode ends. We're building a movement, and you're a part of it. Stay strong, stay aware, and stay connected.
This is the Quadcast, signing out.